Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Louise Houghton.
Hello and thank you for joining us today. We kickstart our highlights of the week with our report on Danish painter Thomas Kluge. And here's a taste of what is coming up after that. Mountain View, designing homes in the Dolomite Mountains. A recipe for success. A Berlin chef has been named Cook of the Year. And Winter Wonderland, exploring northern Sweden on snowmobiles. But first up, we take a look at the latest portrait of the Danish royal family. The last one they had painted was 130 years ago, so there were many eager eyes awaiting the most recent completion. Danish painter Thomas Kluge was commissioned to do the job 4 years ago, and since it's been unveiled, it has caused quite a stir.
This is the royal portrait at the center of the debate. In the middle of the painting is Prince Christian, second in line to the throne. Further back to his left, his father, Crown Prince Frederik. And his grandmother, Queen Margrethe II, who's been on the throne for over 40 years. The portrait is the work of artist Thomas Kluge. He had a particular vision in mind when taking on the job.
We see Christian as a little adult. He isn't playing around like the other children. He has a special role, which is why he's looking at us. Only him, the Queen, and Prince Frederik. That's the line of succession.
Amalienborg Palace in Copenhagen is the royal winter residence where the portrait is now housed. Opinion is sharply divided. Descriptions have ranged from creepy and horrifying to disrespectful, with no shortage of references to the Addams family. But visitors to the exhibition featuring the portrait don't seem bothered by the criticism.
It's maybe a little bit dark, but no, I don't think so. I think it actually portrays the future of the royal family.
I think they haven't seen it in real life. It's way more lighter than I thought it was. So
I'd love to have it in my living room.
I think it's important to paint something that fits into the time it's made, so I really think it's a good painting.
I understand the world from my own perspective, and when I depict the world, it's through my eyes and not anyone else's. So I can't pick a perspective someone else might have been expecting. I have to be true to my work. If I'm not, it becomes at best a kind of illustration, but not a work of art.
The new family portrait is joined in the royal exhibition by older Thomas Kluge paintings. This rendition of Crown Prince Frederik dates from 2009. This is the Queen's consort, Prince Henrik. And this portrait of the Queen herself is a no-frills affair, no makeup, and she's sporting a knitted sweater.
Portrait painting is a centuries-old tradition. There was a phase in the modern period when it wasn't so much in demand. The paintings were replaced by photographs, but today we're back to realist painting, as seen in the magical realism of Thomas Kluge. It's the same in other countries too. Portraiture is definitely not dead. On the contrary.
The last time the Danish royal family was gathered together on canvas was in 1883, when King Christian IX was on the throne.
I considered that painting for a long time. A friend told me I could do a lot better. I said I couldn't. Christian IX died ages ago, and it's hard for me to paint a dead person. But then I thought about our current queen and her family with all her grandchildren. And I decided to do a modern picture of today's royal family centered on the child.
Thomas Kluge is currently at work on a new picture in his studio, which is an hour's drive west of Copenhagen. The historic depiction of the Second Schleswig War of 1864 is epic in its narrative and ultra-realistic in execution. Typically, for the artist's style, it boasts meticulous detail, a combination of unsparing realism and melancholy Baroque-era portraiture. Kluge's new portrait of the House of Glücksburg refers to a painting of his own family. The personal work likewise features a dark background and a child at the center. In this case, his daughter Amalia.
I like painting with dark backgrounds because I see the world as big, infinite, and beyond comprehension.
Den ubegribelig, og den ubegribelig stor.
So I prefer to isolate my figures from this world. Plus, the darkness surrounding them gives the subjects a symbolic character.
Som symboler for noget.
The new portrait of the royals features the Queen and consort plus their sons, daughters-in-law and 8 grandchildren. Prince Christian was 4 when the artist embarked on the project and 8 when he completed the colossal painting. Royals watchers can view the historic portrait in Amalienborg Palace through March the 2nd. It will then be transferred to Queen Margrethe's private collection.
At this time of year, many people like to head up to the mountaintops for a bit of skiing or snowboarding. There are some people, though, that head up the mountains for work. Ulla Hell is one of the founders of the international architectural firm Plasma Studio. Together with her partners, they've overcome the challenges of working at high altitudes and designed some much sought-after homes.
What could or should modern architecture look like when surrounded by 3,000-meter peaks that might steal your attention? How can the architecture come into its own without disturbing the natural beauty around it? And how can it meet the challenge posed by the weather to people and materials? In Sexten, a village in the Italian Dolomites, architect Ulla Hell set out to find the answers. Her designs are a marked departure from the traditional buildings here with their small windows, ornate decorations, and low saddle-shaped roofs. Winning over the locals to her vision wasn't easy at first.
At first, before any of my designs had been built in the area, it was hard for local residents to visualize what it would look like. They were quite skeptical, which is understandable. It's not easy to visualize three-dimensional architecture when it's just a drawing on a piece of paper, especially when the designs are so different and new.
But her first building, which went up in 2003, was a success. The Strate Hotel features larch wood slats that stretch all the way around the building. The hotel looks different from every side. That's the idea behind the design.
It isn't clear where the building starts and where the natural surroundings end. The building is embedded in the slope and it doesn't compete with the mountains. It merges into the landscape and becomes one with it. It looks organic, as though it grew here, and there's no need for it to try to compete.
Not long after, the architect built her own house right next door and let her imagination run wild. The wood-dominated design has an aesthetic function. The house also looks like a sculpture.
To us, it was something of an experiment. How far could we go, and what's feasible in terms of cost and collaboration with the builders? How could I make the most of a glass roof given these weather conditions and the snow? There were so many little obstacles. I wouldn't have trusted any other contractor with the work.
Especially because she built her own house on top of an old traditional one. Their wildly different styles are part of the design concept. On the inside, the many windows suffuse the atmosphere with light. But it was a challenge to keep the place warm in winter, as temperatures here can dip down to 25 degrees below 0 Celsius. So Ulla Hell installed triple glazed windows and good insulation. From her home office, Ulla Hell is in frequent contact with her partners in London and Beijing. In spite of the distance between them, the Plasma Studio team are all on the same plateau when it comes to sculptural architecture. That's made the firm successful internationally, in cities as well as in the mountains. Ulla Hell's latest house in Sexten features a roof and facade made from copper. It was recently given the European Copper Award, and it certainly bears the Plasma Studio's signature design.
We don't want to just copy or duplicate natural shapes or the shape of a cliff. We want to draw upon the landscape around us with elements in the building and transport them into the building. That's what Plasma wants to do here in the mountains.
Ulla Hell's mountain architecture has been a resounding success, and she's already mounting another alpine project. She'll be renovating the train station in the neighboring village.
The Gault Millau is one of the world's 2 main restaurant guides, but aside from grading establishments, it also pays recognition to the chefs. In their latest book, they announced the Chef of the Year as Berlin-based restaurateur Daniel Achilles. His establishment has already received many accolades, but this additional one has meant it is now amongst the top 3 restaurants in the German capital.
A tartare of Jerusalem artichokes, perch in chervil butter, crab with chicory and hibiscus. Daniel Achilles has been awarded 2 Michelin stars for his cuisine, 3 points from Feinschmecker magazine and 18 from Gault Millau Restaurant Guide. Rheinstoff, his restaurant in Berlin, seats just 35 people. He funded it without investors by taking out a bank loan. He sees the fact that he's now been honored as 2014 Chef of the Year as recognition for all his work.
Of course, it's really a great honor. It's clearly an immense incentive and a boost. And it also feels like a lot of work.
His restaurant's name reflects his recipe for success. Rheinstoff translates roughly as pure material. He uses only regional products, which he buys straight from the producers themselves. In today's delivery, fresh flounder.
Some people might think it's a kind of fish that doesn't belong in haute cuisine. But I think it does have a right to be there.
Achilles' distinctive cuisine is down to earth yet sophisticated, and it's a hit. There are already 20 reservations for today. Even early in the morning, the kitchen is already running at full tilt. But the tone isn't usually friendly.
Friendly, but professional. Honestly, without trying to curry favor, he's the best boss I've ever worked for.
Cookery is Daniel's passion, and it has been since his childhood.
It just came from inside me. Everybody knows how at some time during your school years, the question comes up of how you want to earn your money later on, how you want to feed your family or pay for a flat-screen TV. And I decided when I was about 13 or 14.
After training as a chef, he worked at many well-known German gourmet restaurants. One of his mentors was Juan Amador, known for his molecular cuisine.
It was very exciting, a very wild time. I picked up how to make all these detailed molecular dishes, and it was a very exciting and in some ways a defining time for me.
In 2009, Achilles decided to go his own way. Together with his girlfriend Sabine Dehme, he opened Rheinstoff in Berlin. It's open 5 days a week. His only relaxation is taking short walks through the city center.
I like taking these walks. And of course, things that happen along the way to work can be extremely inspiring.
In fact, Achilles finds Berlin itself inspiring. In the past 10 years, the German capital has become something of a gourmet stronghold. No other German city has as many Michelin stars to offer. Berlin now boasts 5 2-star and 9 1-star restaurants.
think it's the most exciting, lively, and pulsating gastronomic scene anywhere. Especially this middle segment that's developed in Berlin, where the cuisine is just under a star or about to get one. The concepts are extremely exciting and work very, very well. And that's what makes Berlin special.
His walk takes a quarter of an hour. Then it's back to the kitchen, arranging the food, sending it out, and cooking more. The chef of the year's working day can last up to 14 hours.
Getting some rest is a nice thought, but right now I don't see it as realistic.
With his new title comes responsibility. Daniel wants to defend his reputation at any price, but always with down-to-earth cuisine whose sophistication lies in its simplicity.
Now, in the depths of the winter here in Northern Europe, it's not uncommon to have snow. There are, however, a few places where snow is practically guaranteed. Lapland in northern Sweden is one of them. Now, this area has a small population, but it's always attracting international visitors, especially at this festive time of year.
Dashing through the snow on an 80-horsepower snowmobile is nothing unusual in the forests of northern Sweden. Tourists can drive snowmobiles themselves here too, but they're first given a lesson. German Patrick Rodacker shows them the ropes. He knows just what the holidaymakers want.
German tourists always want to see elk. The road signs are a real hit. They get stolen all the time. That's the one people want to hang up in the living room. And they want to get a look at a good old red fox or Arctic foxes further in the north. And there are a few wolves too. They come over from Eastern Europe.
There's plenty of room for wild animals. The human population density in Lapland is about 2 residents per square kilometer. The area is known as Europe's last frontier. In northern Sweden, temperatures of -20 degrees Celsius are normal in winter, and it's dark. The sun stays below the horizon for 2 weeks, but you get used to it.
We've never been depressed, at least I haven't been. I read a lot and enjoy it. It's a good opportunity to exercise my mind. If it's a bit cloudy, when the sun is below the horizon, a few sunbeams still light up the clouds from below, and the sky turns wonderful colors. Taking a long walk is also a nice way to find inner peace.
One attraction you can walk to is the Ice Hotel. It takes more than 1,000 tons of ice and quite a bit of snow to rebuild it every year. Artists from all over the world contribute sculptures. During the Christmas season, the whole place is open and guests can spend a chilly night there. Kiruna, Sweden's northernmost town, isn't far away. 18,000 people live here, some 140 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. Among the locals are Swedes, Finns, and indigenous Sami, who gave the place its name. In their language, Kiruna means ptarmigan, a member of the grouse family. Sami traditions are also reflected in the Hotel Camp Ripan, both in its furnishings and its cuisine. There are also regional accents in the interior design of the hotel. It's clearly Nordic, and the materials come from the area around Kiruna. And above all, there's lots of birch. Monica Lind introduced the regional emphasis at Camp Ripan. She grew up in Kiruna and has been running the hotel with her family since 2003.
I am a winter woman. I love the winter time and winter activities. And so I think that I like the dark time when you can make it cozy inside, a lot of fire, and of course the northern light.
Guests can watch for the Aurora Borealis in Camp Ripan's Northern Lights Hall. But it's hard to predict when the colorful stratospheric show will begin. Those who don't want to wait inside can head outside, hop back on a snowmobile, and drive through the winter wonderland.
Now, ham and cheese or banana and yogurt are combinations of food that we're all familiar with. But two Belgian scientists are trying to spice things up a little. Through research into the compounds in foods, they've found that there are many more ingredients that would actually complement each other, even if at first the suggestions seem odd.
Mousse au chocolat is a classic dessert. But what about serving it with beets, vinegar, and olive oil? The testing kitchen at the Sense for Taste agency has even more daring experiments going on. Savor chocolat mousse with freshly ground coffee, crispy fried onions, and breakfast bacon.
This combination is possible because chocolate, the onion, and the coffee and the bacon share molecules in common, flavor molecules in common.
This duo in the Belgian town of Bruges is identifying foods whose tastes fit together and finding out why. Former acclaimed chef Peter Kukiet and taste scientist Bernard Lahouse. Every food contains hundreds of chemical compounds that create taste. They've already discovered the secrets of thousands of ingredients.
We try to analyze as much as possible new ingredients. And those ingredients we get from chefs who want to use new ingredients, or from consumers who want to use a typical local ingredient.
The analyses show the aromas present in different foods. From those findings, they've made a diagram. The taste tree shows which foods are chemically similar and combine well. Almond cookies with broccoli and clams. Banana and foie gras with passion fruit on a bed of chicken skin. Beef tenderloin with mushrooms on a cinnamon biscuit. Or a cocktail of beef bouillon, mustard, gin, and wheat beer. The agency's customers include cooks, barkeepers, and this man, a star among Belgium's chocolatiers, Dominique Persoon. He's been experimenting with unusual ingredients the past 12 years.
Here, for example, we have the chocolate with wasabi. The Japanese spice is very hot, but it's exciting that you find it back. Here I have fried onion. So we take the big Spanish onion and we slice it, we mix it with flour, and then we fried it. It's really exciting for me to work with food pairing and to see all the combinations we can do.
A trained chef, Persoon is only one of 3 chocolatiers who've captured a Guide Michelin star. When he's whipping up new chocolate creations, Dominique Persoon relies on his intuition with help from scientific food pairing.
So one of the flavors we find in the food tree of that chocolate is mushrooms, sep. And I think it's really fun to make a balance between that origin chocolate and sep mushrooms. So we have praline. This is a hazelnut praline here. And I'm going to put some chocolate. And now we have dry powder of those sep mushrooms. I'm going to put it in. Voila. And to give a little bit of freshness, and we also see on the food pairing tree, we have some sancho pepper. So we're going to put it as well.
The pralines with porcini nougat are ready. Dominique Persoon sells his chocolates all around the globe, as well as in his own shop in his hometown, Bruges. But what do the exotic chocolates taste like to the shopper on the street?
Somehow strange flavor. Bacon.
Kind of a berry flavor. Crunchy. What is it? I don't know.
Mushroom. Chocolate. That's interesting. New.
Turkey and cranberries are great together, so put it in chocolate, it'd be great. Yeah, I am surprised, but yes, really good.
Bernard Lahouse and Peter Kukiet would like their findings to have a positive influence on human eating behavior.
We let people discover vegetables they don't like and a recipe they like, and so bit by bit they like to learn, or they learn to like the combination.
So food pairing is a bit like life in general. What really counts is not love at first sight, but that the chemistry works well in the end.
Well, that is definitely food for thought, as the saying goes. That has brought us to the end of the show for today, though. So until next time, take care of yourselves and goodbye.